I'm Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Okay. You just woke up.
I didn't just wake up, I lounged.
Oh, that's what we're calling it. Okay.
It's called relaxing and enjoying your Sunday.
Oh, I wouldn't know anything about that. But your family's in town visiting, so that's been nice.
Yes.
And today we're going to go to the Motion Picture Museum. Is that what it's called?
Something like that, yeah.
The Motion Academy of Arts Picture Show Museum.
As soon as you...
Academy Museum of Motion Pictures,
There you go.
which is new. It's next to LACMA.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Anything you want to say before we get started?
Live, laugh, love.
Oh, tomorrow's my birthday.
Yep, we're prepping for that. A second cake is being forged in the furnaces today.
And all gifts can be sent via Venmo. I just want cash. That'll do. That'll do. I know what I like. Okay, so RuPaul's Drag Race, Canada's Drag Race,
Canada.
Season 2, Episode 2,
Wait, what is the actual title?
Canada's Drag Race.
There's no RuPaul in that?
No,
Oh.
it's Canada's Drag Race.
RuPaul, like, take my name off this.
Well, she's not on it, so yeah, maybe they just bought the rights to it. Because they also have weird things with her music. Like, they'll play the track, but not RuPaul's, like, singing, I noticed. Anyway.
Again, it makes it feel very Canadian.
Oh, wow. I still don't like it. So, this week's main challenge was Under the Big Top. They had to do a rusical.
Which that's like people who don't know how to swim and saying, you're going to do a marathon swimming race today.
It was interesting because there were a lot of characters, like Pennywise was a character, and like some queens voguing, and
It made no sense.
yeah, it made no sense. But two of the contestants did well. Actually, more than two. Several did quite a good job.
Well, because some of them happen to be good singers.
They're talented singers. The winner, though, was not a singer. Pythia. Mm-hmm. She did Pennywise, but
Pennywise.
Pennywise. She did a very good job. But in the there were several who were terrible, including a trio of
Clowns.
literal clowns. One of whom was my favorite, Oceane Aqua Black, and then Isis Couture, who I don't necessarily care for. And she's a seamstress, and also said she was a performer, but she did not do well either.
I think that's the thing about Drag Race, though. It doesn't matter what you're good or bad at, depending on these chicken shit.
These chicken shit gigs.
Yeah.
But poor Oceane was sent home.
You know, she was fun and interesting, but I don't think she would have gone far
No,
anyway.
No, but I did enjoy her.
Some of the choices were...
Her drag was raggedy, but she said it was. Like, she said, I'm an entertainer, I'm not. But yeah.
But it was real raggedy.
It was real raggedy. Okay, moving on to Drag Race UK Series 3, Episode 5. Mm-hmm. This main challenge was also crunchy to me. Drag Alexa, where they were in teams, 3 teams or 2 teams? 2 teams, and each team had to create like a commercial for this take on Amazon's Alexa, which was already stupid. And it was so stupid that for the first time in Drag Race history, there wasn't a winner because they were all bad. Both commercials were stupid. They made no sense. They didn't do sort of the obvious, which is so funny because when they do the obvious, they get critiqued for doing that. And then when they try to do something different, they get critiqued for that. So it's getting a little annoying, making them do these ridiculous challenges. I mean, I almost feel like these, because it transitioned from like, when Drag Race first started, it was really about being like a talented drag queen. Like, can you look good?
Can you sew?
And then can you construct a garment? Can you And then it became more like, can you perform beyond just being entertaining? Like, can you do dips and splits, and can you sing? Can you dance? And then it's become more like, are you an actor? Are you funny? And now I feel like it's almost like, can you be like a comedy writer or something, like a show writer? I don't know.
Yeah, basically, they're the ones that succeed.
Yeah, it's like some sort of like songwriter or script writer, but it's an interesting trajectory of, because I don't know that. Well, that's why they brought Bibi Zahara Benet back for All Stars 5,
Yes.
which I think was good because it showed that a queen from season 1, who happened to be the winner, she still performed really well in sort of a more modern setup. But anyway, for Drag Lexa, the two in the bottom were Charity Case and Scarlet Harlot. Scarlet Harlot was in the bottom the previous episode, with Charity Case as well. So those two were in the bottom the previous episode as well. And that was the double save, which I did not think was...
No, I think Scarlett should have gone home.
Scarlett should have gone home. This go round, they performed the lip sync. They perform a lip sync to Shirley Bassey's Big Spender, which I was not impressed by, but Charity Case gets sent home, which I was surprised by. I think she's much more interesting than Scarlet Harlot.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree. I think based on that lip sync, I can see why that decision was made. But
well, because she sort of did the same thing she did last, like kind of creeped around with like the same makeup on. Like she looks the same, doing the same lip sync.
yeah, she looked like the anthropomorphized version of Maria Bamford's anxiety mosquito in Big Mouth,
which is cool.
Yes,
but we've seen it like 3 times already.
Yeah, it's like we know that you have ornate, elaborate costumes with weird, creepy nightmare fuel.
She reminds me of a more elevated Nina Bonina Brown.
Yes.
Like super creative, but just kind of can't.
But she's like if a drag queen was a nightmare.
Sure, but I also think it reminds me kind of you. Like you just don't want to do, like you just want to do what you want to do. And it's like, but can you just do what I want you to do? You know, like she just seems like she's not going to do what they want her to do.
Right.
And that's great in many ways. Like for her artistry, it makes sense and it's noble. But just for like practicality, because she is an attractive person, so she could give them what they wanted.
Yes.
Like glamour puss, but it's like, nope, I'm going to come out here looking like everything that could go wrong in an elevated way. Like she looks great, but then it gets boring because even Sharon Needles was able to sort of give a broader range of...
Yeah, but that was a constant harangue, right?
Sure, but it paid off in the end because she won.
Sure.
All right, moving on. We watched the second episode of Child's Play, the USA Syfy show.
Yeah.
What did you think?
Doing a lot.
It's doing a lot.
It's okay. I mean...
The best part of it is the Shucky doll.
Of course. Brad Dourif.
Voiced by Brad Dourif. Who, we were watching it with your sister, and because at the end of every episode, they do like a behind the scenes for each episode, which I kind of like. And Brad Dourif pops up on the screen, and when your sister realized...
How old he was.
How old he had become.
She screamed.
But he's still kicking. Yeah, but that show's doing a lot. I'll still continue as it comes up on YouTube. But... Again,
it's also my problem with television in general. Everything just seems stretched out when most, especially with genre, to me that's kind of a deadly combination because why... I'm going to get bored.
Well, yeah, I was thinking that, like, because they're dragging it out. Like, you know, the main girl, Lexi, who's dating the main boy's cousin, we're not going to get into the story, but she's, like, I want her to die. I want mostly all of them to die. Because the girl, they have, like, a Halloween party, and she mimics the death of another character's dad. And Chucky is telling the main character, like, kill her. And I just thought, yeah, kill this bitch.
Well, everything becomes kind of on the nose when in this format. When I just want some subversive subtext and hit me with it.
Yeah, it feels dragged out, but I will still watch. All right, so films we watched this week for fun. This sounds familiar. The Journey Absolution.
Oh my God, this sounds familiar. This was terrible.
What is it about?
It's with Mario Lopez
Oh, we watched a riff
and
tracks.
what's her name? Jamie King.
Jamie King. No, or Jamie Presley.
Jamie Presley.
That movie, it was a riff tracks, which is like the MST3K guys voicing their commentary over the film. That movie, this movie was some bullshit. It's homoerotic.
And Richard Grieco,
Who's only like 32
and looks.
And if you told me he was 50, I wouldn't think twice about it. He looks crazy.
It's from 1997.
Read the synopsis of it.
Most of Earth has been destroyed by an asteroid, which happens before the credits, by the way. A small military colony, New America, has managed to survive in the Arctic. When a soldier goes missing at the colony, authorities send Ryan Murphy to investigate. That's right, his name is Ryan Murphy.
That's the name of that. Like, Ryan Murphy's
the showrunner.
Yeah, American. I have a coworker named Ryan Murphy as well. This show or this movie directed by whom?
David Dakota, who's directed like 200 and some odd things. So obviously not a.
If you want to see very attractive men with no shirts on in like tidy whitey boxer briefs, this is the film for you. Mario Lopez looks great, but the story makes no damn sense. And it's just kind of painful to watch.
It was even with the riff tracks.
Even with the riff tracks, it's painful.
But they were all very young doing this terrible film. It's just I don't know if it probably premiered on television, but it's bad and it looks more dated than 1997.
I can't even say it was worth because there were those other like gay bait type movies where it's just a bunch of hot young guys shirtless, like wrestling around with some ridiculous thin plot. I don't even think this film is that enjoyable because it's not. No, there isn't that much. There isn't enough like sort of roughhousing shirtless guys to like make it sort of.
No, not like how Paul Verhoeven was kind of doing the same thing with Starship Troopers that same year.
Well, I'm thinking more like those Brotherhood movies or
sure.
Like borderline softcore. But no sexual, like there's no sex. I don't enjoy those films, but I'm just saying I can imagine the people who like those probably won't enjoy this because there's not enough.
No, but Richard Grieco is giving you a performance. I don't know if he's trying to be Kurtz from Apocalypse Now or what with that cigar. The Riff Tracks guys kept saying he's doing a Jack Nicholson impression. I don't quite get that. It is whoa.
I would actually recommend watching it without the riff tracks. It might be more enjoyable because you could focus on these crazy performances. Anyway, moving on to Rolling Thunder.
Rolling Thunder, yes. Written by Paul Schrader, directed by John Flynn, starring William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones. I think that's 1977. About a pair of prisoners of war who come back in Vietnam to their small town Texas, and they're of course ravaged by PTSD. He comes back to find that his wife is going to leave him because she's fallen in love with somebody else. So he's just got this young boy to take care of, and he is almost immediately robbed at gunpoint because the small town does all these processions for him when he comes home and gives him money and a Cadillac, I believe.
Oh.
And so he gets robbed by these hicks, and his wife and son are murdered. And so then he just goes on a rampage trying to kill these men with his old friend Tommy Lee Jones. Oh, wow. It's very, it's written by Schrader, not directed by him, but I kind of wish I had seen this before seeing the Card Counter, at least so I could have referenced it in my review, because, Card Counter is riffing on Abu Ghraib, but Schrader's doing a very similar things here, and I almost wish he had directed it. But Devane is good. Tommy Lee Jones is, young and handsome in it, playing a very troubled man. Very interesting, of course, if you're fans of anybody in it or behind the scenes.
Okay. I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes.
I have a Warner Brothers Archive Blu-ray of I Wouldn't Be in Your Shoes, a 1940s film noir directed by William Nye, but most notably based on something by Cornell Woolrich, who I think last week I was talking about The Red War Black, because I had read the book.
Sure.
Which Truffaut famously adapted. This is very, it's if you're ever in doubt about how great something like Billy Wilder's Double Indemnity is, you go back and watch some other film noirs from the 40s, and this is very it's a cheapie. Basically about a guy who gets home, he forgets that he has his new shoes on, throws one out the window at a caterwauling cat, and that item ends up being the reason that he is accused and sentenced for murdering a man he didn't murder, leaving his wife to go out into the city and try to solve the case at the last minute.
Oh.
But what's notable about that, it stars Don Castle and Elise Knox, but Elise Knox is the mother of Mark Harmon.
Oh.
So it was interesting watching her basically play the lead, who's this very fresh-faced young beauty. You probably can't see her from here, but it's like, oh, that's Mark Harmon's mom.
Okay.
Very interesting. Anyway.
Next, Physical Evidence.
I called you into the room to watch a couple scenes from this 1989 film.
Oh, with Burt Reynolds.
With Burt Reynolds. So I was scrolling because they're. I mean, I'm probably more caught up than I think I am in a lot of Burt's filmography, but for whatever reason, and I was scrolling on Amazon Prime, and I'm like, oh, this looks like schlock that I'd be interested in. I don't know if I can handle Burt Reynolds and Teresa Russell at the same time. And then I noticed it was directed by Michael Crichton, and I'm like, oh, I need to watch this. And it's ostensibly it's the last film directed by Michael Crichton.
A couple weeks ago, you said you were watching some movies for your own personal reasons. What was that?
Oh, because I'm working on something.
Yeah, but what was the director? Or
it was something noir.
Oh. My own personal reasons.
Well, there are intentions there.
No, I know. It's just funny how I had to watch this for my research.
Yeah, it's research. Come on now.
Okay.
Anyway, Physical Evidence.
I just want to start by I feel like I like the need to defend Burt Reynolds because I know everyone made fun of how he looked after he got his facelift, and you did as well, and so did everyone. I don't think he looks bad. I think his face looks fine. What's worse or more distracting to me is his hair, which looks like a Brillo pad, which I'm sure is either a toupee or badly colored.
No, I have gone on to tell you that I think he looks fine. It's just that in certain lighting, you can see how skin has been pulled.
Sure. But I don't think he looks like a freak.
No, but I forget, because I have a friend who that really likes Burt Reynolds, and we talk about him often, and there were rumors that people were afraid Burt had HIV in the 80s because I think he had injured himself very badly on a set of a film that he co-starred with Clint Eastwood. I don't remember the title of, and I think it stopped filming and resumed, and he looked drastically different. Like he looked depleted, and that was kind of a rumor going around. I think sometime in the 80s.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't give him AIDS, so I don't know. But anyway, Physical Evidence. I did watch a clip. I don't know what it's about, but I just saw you said Teresa Russell?
Yeah, she used to be married to Nicholas Roeg.
She is his public defender, and part of it is the audio, the dubbing is crazy.
You may say that, but she sounds like that in every film I've seen.
No. I mean, even I was gonna say I know her acting's crunchy because even with the dubbing, just watching her mouth the shit, it looked bad. But anyway, you can quickly review it.
This was supposed to be a sequel to Jagged Edge, which I don't know if you've seen that with...
I'm only familiar with the 2000s R&B group Jagged Edge.
No, this was a
with the song Let's Get Married, which was a favorite of mine back then. But go ahead.
Back then. This was a Glenn Close film. One of the only films she wasn't kind of nominated for, I think, in that stretch of her 80s work. But with Jeff... I think she's defending Jeff Bridges. I haven't seen it in years, but it was a hit. Because all of these ladies were playing lawyers and DAs. Remember Suspect with Cher.
Okay.
Or I think maybe that was even the same year in '87. Anyhow, there's supposed to be a sequel to Jagged Edge, and then they recalibrated it because, of course, why give a powerful woman a sequel to a hit film she starred in? So they pulled in Teresa Russell. You might know her. She was in a movie called Whore in 1991,
Okay.
which Ken Russell directed as kind of a response to the falsehoods in Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And then
Interesting.
she played Denise Richards' mother in Wild Things,
Oh, I don't. Okay.
which
Anyway.
I think anyway, and of course was the muse of
But physical evidence, what's it about?
physical evidence. She's a DA. Burt Reynolds was accused of, I think, murdering somebody, and she's the only one that believes him, basically, and has to.
Although that's not how our justice system works. Like, he should be able to get legal counsel without anyone believing he didn't do it.
Actually, I'm blinking on the plot mechanics now because it was so ridiculous. But it's pretty bad, and her sequences are. Because she also, of course, has a romance with him, and she's currently with somebody else, and it was just painful to watch. I would recommend, if you, what gives you what you want, I think, if you know what you're looking for, is Rent a Cop, starring Burt Reynolds and Liza Minnelli as a prostitute he falls in love with, which is not a good movie, and they also have no chemistry at all, but is more entertaining. But yeah, poor Michael Crichton. I don't know what happened.
Okay, Swamp Water.
Swamp Water. I've owned the Blu-ray for years. It's Jean Renoir's first English language film, I believe. I was expecting a noir. It was not what I was expecting whatsoever. It's set in the Okefenokee swamp area, so I thought we were going to get.
There's a real place called Okefenokee?
Yeah, in Georgia.
Oh. I need to look that up. Okefenokee.
Yes, but otherwise it has some interesting, of course, an interesting Walter Brennan performance, who, if you close your eyes, sounds like Jimmy Stewart to me. But yeah, Renoir directed, based on a novel, really stars Dana Andrews, who I think was very handsome, but I think I liked him more when he was kind of grizzled and past his prime in some film noirs, like a couple Fritz Langs he did.
What is this movie about?
It's about a boy. Dana Andrews is supposed to be playing a boy whose father is Walter Houston, who his dog gets lost in the Okefenokee, and he has to go find him, and he stumbles on Walter Brennan, who is a criminal hiding out in the swamp, and he befriends Dana Andrews, who basically goes back and forth in town to correspond with Walter Brennan's daughter, played by a very young Anne Baxter, who can't be like 17 or 18, who you know from as Eve from All About Eve.
Oh.
Or Nefertiti in Ten Commandments.
Okay.
It's fun seeing all of those people who do look very young, but ultimately it's 1941. It felt very 1941.
Okay, next, Hellhole.
And another thing, I think I was in the mood for something Halloween-y, and have owned this for years. 1985, I would say this is a sexploitation film, but has some really interesting supporting characters, including Marjo Gortner and Mary Woronov, and Robert Zadar. Mary Woronov is so striking to me. Any of this terrible, atrocious dialogue, she can just deliver. I sent you a picture of her.
Okay.
And you kept asking if she was trans.
You make me sound like a terrible person. She's a handsome lady.
I think she's striking.
So my first thought was, oh, is this woman trans? But I know that's not appropriate.
No, not that she does. I think that was always something that kind of plagued her, kind of like Sierra.
Oh!
No, I know that. I don't think people always say that though,
People used to say that about Sierra till she had some surgery on her face,
which is unfortunate. That what does it matter? But anyway, I think that what is striking about Mary Woronov, whose biggest film was probably Eating Raoul, is that element of she's just this secretive, seductive creature. Not to demean any interpretation of her in any way. I don't believe she was trans, but it doesn't matter. It's just that
What is this movie about?
She plays this crazy psychiatric doctor on a psychiatric ward who problematic. What's the word?
Why don't you read the synopsis of it? What does the synopsis say?
Well, this synopsis doesn't really encapsulate what the film is about. The hellhole is this secretive lab in this mental asylum that they cart away the problematic wards, and Dr. Fletcher, played by Mary Warnow, does secret experiments on them.
Oh.
And then that basically is what's going on.
Did you like it?
No, it's terrible.
Oh.
That's why it's a sexploitation film. It's like Caligula. Every time we're in between the plot mechanics, we're treated to these women inmates who are always naked, in mud baths, in the shower, doing all kinds of drugs, including meth, and just having a gay old time.
It sounds interesting.
It's not good. The lead is actually played by Judy Landers, who I thought looked a lot like Fifi O'Hara, who always has blown out hair and always has her makeup on. It opens, she watches her mother get murdered, who has some kind of secret files that this man, the murderer, needs, and he becomes an orderly in this psychiatric institution to plague her, but she has amnesia and can't remember him, so he needs Dr. Fletcher to kind of scare her into jump-starting her brain.
Oh, God. Okay.
In the hellhole. It's not good.
Next, The Thing That Wouldn't Die.
You watch this it's a favorite Mystery Science Theater 3000 treatment of an old 50s film.
About a lady who, well, she's like a water witch.
Yes.
So she uses a stick to find like wells of water, but she comes upon an area that's evil, and like a head is found, and this
buried by Sir Francis Drake,
and the head is like sort of possessing some of these women to do bad things. But it's, I mean, obviously it's not good. That's why there's an MST3K treatment of it. It's not one of my favorites. It is enjoyable. I think what's there's a line, dig the hell out of my lawn.
Oh, go ahead, dig the hell out of my lawn.
But you know what I thought we were about to watch is the one where there's the line where she says something in my dreams of blood.
Oh, the leech woman.
It's in black and white, and the quality of the video is not the best. So I think that takes away from the experience. But it is a fun watch because the movie's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, it's stupid as all hell. But I saw this years ago when I was on the Syfy channel in the late '90s. But it remains fun. The commentary track is fun. It stars William Reynolds as Gordon Hawthorne. William Reynolds played Barbara Stanwyck's son in There's Always Tomorrow.
He's very handsome.
And then the old man, that they go get this man from the National Archives or something in the middle of the night.
Oh.
To examine the chest that is examined, that old man that they assert has the hots for Aunt Flavia. He is in All That Heaven Allows with Jane Wyman.
Lastly, we watched American Gigolo. I had never seen that film before. I didn't care for it.
Why? I love it.
I thought the writing was corny. I thought Richard Gere was not the right
Really?
fit.
He was handsome.
He's handsome, but he wasn't like, I don't know, all the dialogue about how watching him, like when so it's about, Richard Gere plays a character named
Julian Kay.
He's a male prostitute, but he's like a high class prostitute, and he ends up turning a trick with a woman who ends up being murdered, and he's accused of it.
He's framed for it.
Well, or he's framed for it, so he's accused of killing her, and he is arrested for it. But ultimately, he gets off because a senator's wife, played by Lauren Hutton, provides him with an alibi. The end.
Yeah.
But I thought Lauren Hutton was striking, and I thought she was very good in her role. But I thought Richard Gere just seemed, the writing was corny, like him being this like sex master, like refined, because he's supposed to speak many languages, and he has access to all these like country clubs, and
he's supposed to, but that's all like him saying that he's manipulative.
But he's not
It's fake it till you make it.
Okay, but to me, fake good example. So it should have either been someone like a Pierce Brosnan, like a very handsome,
Or you think you should
intercontinental type of gentleman, or it should have been like what's his name, Darren Criss doing the assassination of Gianni Versace, like Andrew Cunanan, like delusional. But you just have Richard Gere.
So you're saying you want to see the cracks more evidently.
He needed to either be so debonair that it's like all these basic rich white ladies would just be so like he would be so magnetic to them, or he needed to just be a full on con. But in this film, he's just like, yes, he is handsome, but then his body is just kind of like, well, he's not like. I mean, I think he's like, yeah, like I'm sure gay men would find him very appealing, but I don't think that like
I think that's where the film it doesn't get seedy enough because I think what it really needs to feel and what it lacks is that essence of kind of the darkness always nipping at his heels. Like
then that was the other thing. He is in trouble. He's being accused of killing this lady, and then the way I always forget, is it Renee Elizondo or Hector?
Hector.
Oh, Renee is Janet Jackson's ex-husband. Hector Elizondo plays a detective, and the way Julian is talking to the detective is just like so ridiculous.
But
if he's supposed to be smart and have money like to pay for an attorney, why are you talking to this detective and telling him like, well, sensitive matters because it's not all like legal and what the fuck are you talking about? Get an attorney and shut up.
I get that it was also a different era, and he is living his LA fantasy. And knows he didn't do it.
But the other problem too is like it's not really a fantasy. Like he has a beautiful apartment with all the things and drives a very expensive Mercedes and has custom Italian suits made for him and closets full of clothes, and he's living the life. So it's not a fantasy. He's doing it. But what you're talking about, what I think you're talking about is the fact that he really isn't like this life he's created for himself is like almost like a mirage.
That's
it can
what
be
I mean.
taken away
Yes.
at any moment. But then the film, I don't think, does a good job of explaining that, because even when he does get arrested, we don't see his life fall apart, because in the end, Lauren Hutton's character says, well, I'll be with you. I don't know what we're going to do because obviously I can't go home because the paparazzi's there, or the reporters, because her husband's a senator at the end. So I don't know. I wanted it to either like it, for Richard Gere to make it work. I think it needed to be kind of seedy. Like he is doing these jobs, but then he lives in like a shit apartment in Hollywood. Oh, excuse me. So I just was kind of annoyed by his character. Every time he spoke, every time he was sexual, it was just like, ugh.
Sure, but I think that Schrader did the best he could with the limitations, because it also, on another angle, it is extremely forthcoming with queer elements, and I think that was...
You kept saying that, but I wasn't getting that, except that Richard Gere's character keeps saying, I don't do fags, I don't do fags. He says it like 4 times.
Well, but you have Bill Duke in these gay bars and these boys that he's out peddling around and using for nefarious reasons. Like, that's very...
But it's very... Yeah, but you made it seem...
Think of the year.
Sure, but the way you had described it to me before I watched it, I was thinking... I mean, there's no gay shit in it. It's just that Bill Duke plays a pimp.
They make it very clear that Richard Gere's character, that Julian Kay has done all kinds of gay shit, and just... It's a lot of work. Okay, it's a lot of work for him.
Yeah, but you're making it sound like it's very like overt, and we don't see anything, and all we hear is him saying, "I don't want to do gay shit. I don't want to do fags. I don't."
Yeah, because it doesn't. Because it's
he doesn't say, "I'm tired of getting fucked in the ass," or he doesn't say anything like that. He just says
no, but he sees it as kind of gutter. But that's also what I mean by the darkness nipping at his heels. He's trying to escape from that life. But that's
but it's very Julian Kay. This character is very shiny. He lives in a very fancy like hotel apartment building, like nipping at his heels. I think the only tension I felt was like, dude, you're in trouble. And you're just like thinking that it's going to go away, because he doesn't want to reveal his clients as an alibi, or he doesn't want to give information because obviously a big factor of him doing well is that he's discreet, so he doesn't want to.
Well, once he starts revealing clients, that burns bridges. And
it burns bridges.
By the time we meet him, he's already burned a lot of bridges because the woman that trained him, the Swedish lady.
Oh, that character I thought was corny, and that their back and forth was so like.
But that's supposed to exemplify how really nobody cares about him.
Yeah, but we get the same scene 3 times of him talking to his original pimp lady who lives in this beautiful home, which appears to be in Malibu somewhere, and it's like their interactions. They have 3 different scenes that all are the same thing. Like, I trained you, I made you who you are, and now you're out here doing side jobs, and you don't want to give me my respect, so I'm not going to help you. That's basically what she says to him in 3 different scenes.
Sure.
So it just felt like, what is the point of this? Like, like multiple times. Because he goes back to her, like, can you help me? I'm being accused of murder. And she's like, I trained you. You are out here. I'm not going to help you.
She's also a plot mechanic because also dangling in the periphery is this $8,000 job of the Swedish lady that he's learning Swedish for.
Which I felt like I had forgotten about that job until the end when he sees her and she's like, "You didn't even do that job I got you yesterday."
I know, but it's a.
So
film.
I don't understand the gravity of that
job.
But
it's a film and a life that's all about dangling carrots. So to me, I don't mind any of that.
I think it's okay. I would give it 3 out of 5. I don't think. I agree that for the time and for this, I mean, at the time, I mean, I don't think Richard Gere's ever been like A-list male lead actor, but I think for the time, it is a bold story. I think the highlight of this film is Lauren Hutton.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Although I think they filled in her gap, which kind of bothered me.
They did fill in her gap.
But yeah, she's gorgeous.
They kept Hector's and filled hers.
Yeah, Kepler got his gap, but she filled hers.
No, I love the Blondie Call Me soundtrack and how it's used in kind of woozy, weird ways by Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah, so the opening of the film is Blondie's Call Me, like the radio version. And then throughout the film, which is actually really interesting, it's just sort of instrumental versions of the song, but like altered to fit the mood of the scene. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was a really cool.
Well, I love almost anything Giorgio Moroder.
Well, he's like a disco king, right?
Yeah, I mean Donna Summer, Irene Cara.
I'm familiar, but
yes,
no, I think the use of that song throughout the film is very strong. I think the cinematography is very shaky, but LA's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's an LA neo noir to me, and I appreciate
It doesn't feel like it's not a thriller though. It doesn't feel thrilling
as
at all.
as a template for other queer things that would come. Like it has. Schrader leans in a lot into sexual repression in his films, and it's not the first time he's had like gay or queer characters. I think this was the same year as Cruising, right? Like it's interesting to see what he was able to get away with. I think from a straight
Cruising is a much more subversive film.
I agree, but
which is why this doesn't feel that bold to me. But
I don't know, like Bill Duke trying to hustle.
I didn't even recognize that Bill Duke was gay. Bill Duke solicits like male prostitutes.
But I think it's all in the subtext, which I'm always a fan of subtext. Like if you really listen to everything Bill Duke is saying, like it's pretty creepy and weird. But I think he went to the bathroom at the moment where Bill Duke tells him, like, dude, you were frameable, and I didn't like you, and nobody liked you, nobody cares about you.
Right, but you're saying that, but it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like he's occupied. Yeah, I mean, you occupy a world of pimps and hoes. Like there's no honor. It's very shaky. You're doing illegal things, so you could get in trouble at any moment. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't. I mean, it's like duh. Like
I love
he's disposable.
I love the symbolism of the final scene with Lauren Hutton's hand pressed up against the prison glass and him leaning his head against her, and the camera zooms in so you can't tell that it's prison glass, but realizing that forever and always there will be this demarcation between them, that they will never ever actually be together.
I would recommend it. It just wasn't what I thought based on how you were talking about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a good film. Okay, moving on to projects of interest. Something called Odessa.
Yes, Christian Petzold is finally moving forward on his next project, collecting funds. After Undina premiered at Berlin, and of course before the pandemic hit, he had said he was doing a queer film next. Over the pandemic, he said he was going to wait till it's over because there's going to be a lot of physicality. So I believe this is still the same project, but that's exciting to me.
And next is The Beast in the Jungle.
Yes, Patrick Chiha, who's a queer filmmaker. I don't know if I made you watch Domain, starring Beatrice Dahl, back in 2009, which is a lot of fun. But he's directed several documentaries and other things since then, usually that premiere in Berlin that I catch. He is adapting a Henry James short story called The Beast in the Jungle, which I have a copy of that I have yet to read. Love Henry James, of course. Terminology it was described at was a huis clos, which means behind closed doors. So like because it's probably more of a short story than a novella, but it must be a conversation, i.e. behind closed doors. So that is exciting to me.
All right, moving on to the obituary section. So the big movie news this past week was an accident on the set of a film called Rust, which was filming in New Mexico, which resulted in the cinematographer, whose name I may not pronounce correctly, Halyna Hutchins.
Based on the spelling,
Halyna Hutchins.
We've seen her work.
She was killed.
She was the cinematographer on Darlin, the sequel to The Woman.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's been around a while.
So, obviously a tragic accident at the hands of one of my faves, Alec Baldwin. This is devastating because, to be, like, accidentally killed at work is just, like so horrible. And then to accidentally kill someone, I mean, it's just devastating on all ends because, I know Alec Baldwin has had, he's well known for like having a temper and blah, 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 but certainly he's not a murderer and I'm sure has a heart somewhere in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just
like,
I'm sure he was inconsolable. I'm sure he's devastated. I've read that he's canceled future projects. Like those things have been obviously like placed on hold. And then all the people who knew and cared about Halyna. Yeah. That's just what. Could you imagine if if you got killed at work, I get a check. So, but no, just to be funny. But yeah, can you imagine? Like you go off to work and then I get a call being told that you were.
I'm sure more details will come out about it. Obviously, I think I read that he was told it was a cold gun.
Well, the most recent information is the assistant director, Dave Halls, is the person who handed Alec the gun and then told him that it was that it didn't have live ammunition. But it's come out that there have been formal complaints against this person due to disregards to safety protocols, including weapons and pyrotechnics.
Oh.
So he has a history.
Well, there's your scapegoat. But
some person from the set of a film he worked on, some Hulu show, said that they filed a complaint because he wasn't following like safety. He wasn't holding safety meetings.
This is why it's important to file complaints because there's a trail of people doing the wrong things. But I think what's also curious, and I'm sure people want to know about, is how the gun was pointed. Because he also injured the director?
Well, so I was reading that, the scene, it was a rehearsal scene. Like, it wasn't it was like they were rehearsing, but the scene, the shot they're trying to get is Alec's character is like shooting the gun at the audience, which means he obviously has to shoot at the camera. And then the person managing the camera standing behind it, and then the director was standing behind her. So the bullet went through the cinematographer, through her chest, and then hit the director.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
this is going to change a lot of things.
Generally, I was reading that, most scenes, they shoot, like, off. Like, it's rare that they're shooting, like, at the camera. It's like, you're usually shooting, like, off in the distance where there's no one. So even if something did... Because prop ammo still has, something that will ignite and create. So it's still dangerous at close range.
Well, just like rubber bullets.
Well, rubber bullets are meant to connect and injure.
They hurt, yes.
But but the fake ammunition and like because prop guns are often real guns that just hold these fake bullets. If shot at close range, like it would still. Because there's one actor who I was reading was doing a scene where he's supposed to shoot himself. And was playing with the gun and shot like he wasn't supposed to shoot it, and that fake ammunition at close range like killed him. So that's wild.
Well, and then of course Brandon Lee, yeah, I feel like this will change protocols.
Wow, I mean, if we can't get real gun violence under control, I don't know why we would care about this bullshit. And that's the other thing, not to minimize the loss of this person, but it's just like we can't get real gun safety under control. So it's like, are we really about to go off about fake gun safety?
Well, they're they're similar parts of the same conversation.
I know, and I'm being difficult, but it's just like guns are a problem.
Yeah, I agree.
That being said, I do want a gun, and I feel like I need to know how to handle a gun, but because they're a reality. If no one had guns, then I wouldn't give a shit about guns.
Sure.
If we could all say, like, no one can have a gun, I'm fine with that. But since a lot of people do, it's like, well, let me go ahead and get one and learn how to manage it. But do you have anything else you want to say? Because we're running out of time.
No, it's just depressing.
It is very sad. So the mystery movie this week was a film called Dreamcatcher.
Selected by Joseph.
I selected it because I was listening to How Did This Get Made, which is one of my favorite podcasts, and they were talking about it. And I couldn't remember if I had seen it or not. So
I saw it last in the theater when it came out in 2003. I had read the book.
So it's a 2003 film based on a Stephen King novel, directed by Lawrence Kasdan and written by William Goldman. And apparently those two people are notable.
Very extremely notable. Lawrence Kasdan's debut was Body Heat. He wrote a couple Star Wars films. He wrote The Bodyguard. He directed The Big Chill. William Goldman, he wrote Princess Bride, All the President's Men. He wrote the film that we did last week for this podcast, Magic. He's written other esteemed Stephen King adaptations such as Misery and another one I'm not remembering. But yes, so I think the shock at how bad this film was based on the source material and those making it's still shocking to have revisited it as an adult.
It's so bad that I didn't take any notes. I couldn't because it just would have been like...
Oh, I did.
I mean, it just would have been too many to... But I'll just sort of basically go over the story is about four male, lifelong friends who are staying at this, secluded cabin, during the winter, when an alien invasion occurs. But these aliens have been visiting Earth throughout the years. And Morgan Freeman plays a military person who's sort of been in control of managing these aliens. So they're manageable, they're quarantined in this spot, and then the military, this special group comes in and evaporates them. So these four friends are caught in this this quarantine zone.
In Maine.
They're in Maine, in New England. And they are able to successfully quarantine this group. So it seems like, everything will be fine. Two of the four friends end up dying. But I don't even know where to begin. The dialogue is...
So I will tell you...
I'll let you start because you have notes, so go ahead.
My memories of the novel, I think they were trying to...
Oh, you read the book.
Yes, but again, back in 2003. But I remember that whole SSDD, same shit, different day, blah, blah, blah. I think Stephen King... I loved him as a kid, but repeats himself and his kind of trajectories quite a bit. All these... This is full of his favorite motifs, if you will. But... I think Goldman and Kasdan were trying to stay faithful to the novel, and that's where they probably messed up, because this dialogue is terrible. But I remember it being that way in the film, or in the book. some character says, "We're about to have a double storm." What the hell is a double storm?
Oh, and then they keep like the fuckaroo and fuckery.
Jason Lee has the brunt of it as Beaver, who got a bingo blowjob and is talking about priapism and going like.
Okay, so these four friends have this psychic ability. Oh, I didn't mention that. So these four friends have a psychic ability or like telepathic ability, something, and they get it from this character named Duddits.
Who's, as an adult, played by Donnie Wahlberg.
And Duddits is an alien who knew about this. He's like a good alien. And these bad aliens who've been coming to Earth, that Morgan Freeman's character has been sort of eradicating, he knew that this bad alien was going to come at some point. So he came to Earth in the body of this little boy with like special needs.
Yes.
He's like...
Does he have Down syndrome?
No, he doesn't have Down syndrome. He has some cognitive delay of some sort, but also ends up with like leukemia. And it's too much. But these four boys, this is the other problem. We only have like 10 minutes. There's no time, but I don't know if this movie deserves more than a few minutes. But my biggest... Okay, this boy who's really like just... the vessel for this good alien who knows sometime in the future he needs to destroy this bad alien. He connects with these four boys because he's being bullied, and the four boys save him. Okay. And then he teaches them. It's not clear to me if he gives them psychic ability or they already had it and he just showed them how to use it.
I think he gives it to... Okay. Well, or we all have it and he opened the door for
Right.
them.
Okay. Dialogue was terrible. The story is too complicated. Like
the movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Oh my god, because okay, so these four psychic friends, but then their psychic ability doesn't help them in any way. No. Except in the end that Thomas Jane's character is able to find, because the bad alien is occupying the redhead. What's his name?
Damian Lewis.
Is occupying his body. So Thomas Jane's psychic ability allows him to find them, to destroy them. But that's really the only time their abilities help them. So what was the point of giving them these abilities? But so there's that. Then Morgan Freeman's character, whose lifelong mission has been to destroy these aliens, he doesn't really come into like the hour mark. And
he's the headliner.
And he's the headliner, but also there's Tom Sizemore.
Yes. Who's
playing like his understudy, I guess, who's going to take over when he retires. And it seems like they're both trying to do the same thing, but Morgan Freeman's trying to stop him because there's this other general who wants to, like...
Morgan Freeman's superior.
But the only reason this movie is interesting is because it kind of ties into COVID and what we're dealing with about the quarantining and how we have people who think that people should just be isolated, and then you have this new general who thinks like, no, some people don't get that sick or they're not fully infected by the alien. Let them go. But anyway, then you have that plot, which just makes it more complicated.
Which doesn't really fit.
It doesn't fit. Then the four guys, when we see them as kids, they're actually really sweet boys. Like, they're thoughtful, they defend their friend, they're really supportive of one another, they don't have the usual, like, adolescent boy shit talk. But then as adults, they're awful people.
Yes.
Thomas Jane's a psychiatrist. He's awful.
Timothy Olyphant is a used car
salesman who's awful, like in kind of like a misogynist. Then they're all shit.
Yes.
So I don't understand what's the point of making these four adolescent boys who seem like good people, good stock, turn into like douchebags.
But again, it's the same template. It's what he does in It. It's what he does in Stand By Me. The whole SSDD thing is like MOON in The Stand. It's just that's why they don't feel like actual characters, I think, because he's just really recycling a similar formula he likes.
Then there's shout outs to Alien.
Oh yeah, it's called the Ripley virus, named after the broad from Alien, as Morgan Freeman says, who starred in a movie with Sigourney, but whatever.
What did he star in with her?
Eyewitness.
Oh. Then the aliens look like kind of like tremors, but then they burst out of the body like the aliens from Alien.
But out of the ass.
But out of the asshole.
They're called shit weasels.
Oh my god, it's just...
The dialogue, Morgan Freeman, who's clearly supposed to be like General Kurtz from Apocalypse Now, who we referenced earlier already, is given dialogue. In that one stretch of sequence, he's using alliteration like, it's a paradise of pine, it's a blizzard of bullshit. And another Alien reference is Damian Lewis's character is named Jonesy, which is named by the cat from Alien.
Oh, then another stupid part of this movie is the memory warehouse.
That's really
which
bad.
is used at length, and it's so literal. Like, so in reference to like these characters' memories, they say they have memory warehouses where they can go in and sort of like allocate and store memories and like dispose of memories. First of all, it doesn't make sense with how memory actually works, number one. Number two, it's used so heavily, and really the only point... I don't understand why such a prominent plot point is made for what ends up being used to simply explain that the one character, the redhead, didn't know Duddits, made it so that he would never know like who Mr. Gray is, which is the bad alien.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mr. Gray is like trying to get into his memory warehouse to find out where Duddits is.
And it is...
but it's like, why does he need to know?
Oh God, he's running around in the circular staircase of his mind, and then...
It was very Harry Potter to me.
Poor Damian Lewis is due as Mr. Gray speaking through him as a British voice, because Damian Lewis is British.
That was so dumb.
And he said he was doing a Malcolm McDowell impression.
I don't understand why this alien would even have a British accent.
I don't either. It's not
why
good.
Would he?
Morgan Freeman's eyebrows.
Morgan Freeman's eyebrows are a problem. And I don't understand why that choice was made. Your mom, we watched it with your mom, and she made a good point that maybe it was trying to show that he's older, like close to retirement, which is probably what they were trying to do, which makes no damn sense. Morgan Freeman, been done, looked old. We don't need to make him look older.
He just finished shooting a movie with Juliette Binoche where he's again playing a cop hot on their trail. It's like, he is getting a little older.
We don't need to make Morgan Freeman look older by putting crazy ass eyebrow extensions.
Just nothing makes sense. The only creepy scene is when we see all the animals fleeing. But there's this red coating that happens when the Ripley virus takes over, but that ostensibly really does nothing except look like the Jordy Verrill portion of Creepshow.
The only thing I want to say is this is another example of like, this could have been a good movie had it just been four friends in a secluded cabin when aliens attack, and they have this psychic ability and they are able to defeat the aliens using their ability. That would have been enough. But you had all these layers that just make it laughable. It felt like if four 11-year-old boys wrote a movie.
Well, it's just...
That's how this movie feels.
I think it also goes to show when you have a director that really, was into adult dramas, many of which I didn't even like from his 90s work, doing a Stephen King adaptation that he failed miserably at. And it's sad to learn that a filmmaker of his caliber, both of whose sons have come to be notable filmmakers, including Jake Kasdan, who did the TV Set with Sigourney and in Bad Teacher. This really slowed his role. It ruined a lot of projects he was making after this, and he only did one film since then called Darling Companion, which I also did.
Well, we have to end this, so what else do you need to say?
I have a quote from Lawrence Kasdan. I tell you, I feel like a real novice as far as horror goes. And then just a very simple Roger Ebert quote.
Wait, that quote was from him before he made this movie?
I think
and they hired him anyway.
And Roger Ebert, no good movie is too long and no bad movie is short enough.
Word.
This film felt long.
Yeah. Anything else?
Bite My Balls.
Oh.
That's from the movie.
Oh, toodaloo.